Okay, hello everybody. It's me, Connor Clark, and you're watching Impact Explorers. Now, this is my channel where I show adventures I've been on and cool places that we've been to. But I'm actually now getting a PhD in tourism and community development, and I actually can't really afford to go on these travels anymore. So now I'm going to talk about PhD stuff, and today specifically 5 financial tips for how to avoid debt in your PhD program. So, and this is great, by the way, and this is very pertinent because I love to travel and I love what I'm doing, and not traveling anymore at this particular point in time is actually helping me to accomplish this very goal of avoiding debt right now. So, I'm 1 year into this program, and I am proud to say that we have avoided debt so far. We're a family of 3, got a wife, and we have a daughter. And so yeah, money is a real thing to think about for us, and that's why I'm sharing this video. So let's talk here. Tip number 1, financial tip number 1 is get funded. So when you get a PhD, you need to look for funding. You should really not consider it unless you have funding. I can think of some rare exceptions there, but you've already been to college, you've got a master's degree. Most undergrads are leaving college with debt, and I was fortunately, I did not have any debt at that point. But then master's degree, oh my gosh, I just avalanche of debt, and I think that's the case with most master's students. And so at the PhD level, oh my gosh, we've got enough debt to worry about. Let's just say no more. So that's the goal for me, and I hope it's the goal for you after watching this. So get funded. Usually funding means that you get your tuition covered, a funding package, whatever, a funding deal when you start a program is if you are accepted and get funding that usually cover tuition and then give a living stipend. Now that living stipend will vary depending on your area of study and what school you're at. So, it's not much though. It's hard to live off these stipends. It's actually kind of impossible to live off of them alone. So we're going to talk about that here. So just for reference, like I was checking out business programs at Harvard, and that would give you a living stipend if you get the full funding package. That's about $40,000, and so this is relatively higher than all other kind of funding stipends at other PhD programs. So we're talking about one of the top schools in a high-paying area of study. I think engineering and other areas of science are similar as well. So $40,000, and that's like a teacher salary. Most people look at that as very low. I certainly look at that as a low, living, if that's your whole career making that much. Yeah, very low, and that alone would be difficult to live off of. But in areas like mine, parks, tourism, recreation, then that's like 14 to 17,000 is probably about the average. So that's very low, but it's the baseline because again, it's tuition and it's a living stipend, and it's much easier to put that as a baseline and survive once you have this basic funding covered. So step 2, financial step number 2, I got my cheat sheet here, is make a budget. So you need to know how much you need. What's your bare minimum for survival? Again, you got to throw out all this reckless spending stuff, and that's the tough part. But how much you need to survive. So rent, utilities, internet, phone, food, and maybe streaming services. You got your house, Netflix, Hulu, which Netflix is kind of not as cool for me anymore. I don't know. I might cancel that. I might consider that to save money. So yeah, get transportation. So your basic costs. Know how much you need. What's your bare minimum? And then these next goals will help you make enough and get to the point where you can cover that bare minimum. So step 3, financial tip number 3 is spend wisely. Again, this is a very hard part. Now, I've not been in school my whole life. I was working for 6 years after my master's degree and between coming here to this PhD program. So spending wisely, it's been a challenge, but it's just a necessary challenge right now. And thanks to my wife, she's very strong-willed and just disciplined and can shut down my ideas of reckless spending. Like, oh, let's go on this vacation. She says, no, how about not? And I go, crap, you're right. Technically, you're always right. You're always right, technically speaking, but I always try to find a way to justify, spending a little. And so far it hasn't worked, and our bank account's grateful for it. So, yeah, we hardly eat out. We basically are just not traveling anymore. those are probably the two biggest ways to kind of spend money, I think, at least for our family, just going, eating food and just spending on fun things, whatever, go to the zoo, the aquarium, just, family kind of activities, Disneyland. Oh my gosh, that's way too expensive. So spend wisely, very difficult. There's a book called Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, and it talks all about this. And when I read it, I was like, oh, this book's horrible. It's just all about like how to not live a life and just be miserable because you're trying to save money. But it's actually turning out to be useful in this particular time of life. So I do recommend giving that a read. Okay, step 4 is seek out relevant work. So again, if you're in my area, so $14,000, $17,000, that's not enough for a family of 3, not even close. But again, it's much better than just coming in and getting debt financed, just getting out more loans when you already have a mountain of loans from previous education. So much better. But yeah, not enough to survive off of. So seek out extra work. So right now is summer, and I consider in this particular area of getting extra work, I consider myself successful in just finding other work opportunities. So not only am I making money, but it's also helped me, pad my resume and sharpen my researcher skills. So just doing some assistantship type work for the summer, and then teaching a course, which, that's especially a great experience to have, on the resume, and going into academia, knowing how to teach and manage a class. So very big, because essentially this is how we are surviving, is just that living stipend, which is just bare minimum. That alone probably would just pay for rent for the year for us, but then you got all these other expenses on top. So seeking out extra work is what makes that all possible, and just reach that budget, which, that's step 2, making a budget. So step 5 is the essential magic ingredients, like the magic fairy dust you got to sprinkle, and that's go into beast mode. So this is not easy, and it's not, no one's ever going to tell you this. That's why I'm here, guys. So and I learned this in my master's degree. Everyone is going to say, your professors or advisors will be like, yeah, school's so hard, school's so busy, you can't have a job and be in business school. No way, you got to focus on your studies. So they'll tell you all those things, and that is not in your financial best interest. Your personal finances, it's not in the best interest of your personal finance. Not at all. So I look back and think, if I could redo that master's degree, I think I could have definitely saved a lot of money, maybe $30,000 of debt, by being a little more wise and even trying to work extra, make some money, just reduce that loan amount. I think I could have been wise if I'm doing what I'm doing now, which is going into beast mode, because just enough is enough at this point in my life, and I can't. In your 30s, I'm younger 30s, you can't make these financial choices and then survive and not be totally dependent on Social Security, which may not exist, or kids, which I don't know if you even will have kids. So yeah, that doesn't sound like a good retirement plan to me. So so basically, let's talk more about this beast mode. Sorry, I go on these tangents, but this is only possible by working extremely hard. So last semester, for example, and this whole last academic school year, I've been teaching with VIP Kid, teaching English online to Chinese kids, and it's a great company. It's just a great way to make money from your house. All you need is an internet connection. And it was also fun too, but you got to wake up early, and so it's difficult. It's 60, 70 plus hour work weeks. But again, this is not for the faint of heart. When you're trying to get serious about finances, especially in a PhD, it's serious stuff. And your academics, advisors, professors, they'll tell you to never do that, but I'm here to tell you that I'm doing it and I'm surviving. So, and I'm not a superhero at all. So I don't have any superpowers, and we're doing it so far. And so my goal is to get through this program, just have zero new debt. I already got my master's degree, it won't go away, but to get zero new debt. So I've been working during the school year with VIP Kid, and then this summer I've been able to find some extra and relevant work opportunities, which are great. So these 5 steps here, 5 financial tips, can help you avoid debt in your PhD program. So again, that's get funded. I just really would not even consider going to a PhD program unless you're funded. Make a budget, spend wisely, seek out relevant work, and go into beast mode, because you really can't do all this at the same time if you expect to have a 9-to-5 work life, which if you're a PhD, most people are pretty good about working really hard and not living by this 9-to-5 kind of schedule. And that's it. That's a wrap here. So we'll make more videos of going to debt, getting funded, and some of these other budgeting. These are all big areas that deserve more attention, but here's the basics for you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you.